Hi everyone, my name is Jenny Zick and I work for ID, which is part of Renewal Ministries. I offer you today kind of a time of reflection. I think that the Lord's been speaking to my heart, but inviting me to share with you as well. The first thing I want to say is I just want to bestow on you the words that Christ spoke every time he appeared after his resurrection was, "Peace be with you." I know this is a very challenging time for many of us with losing jobs, family members, with just the uncertainty of this time, that can be a lot of anxiety or worry or fear that's kind of pent up in all of us. And I just want to remind you of the words that Jesus spoke, his peace be with you. He offers that to you today, and he wants that for you. He wants you to be in peace in him today. So as I go into this reflection that I have for you, this phrase kept on coming up to me today that I think the Lord really wants to share with you is this time that we're in was meant to change us. This time was meant to change us. This time was meant to change you, and it was meant to change me. I know that this is all that we're living in we're living in extraordinary times, in times that many people never have to experience, this time of the world kind of shutting down, a lot of things shutting down, a lot of social distancing in a way that we can't physically be with many people at all, besides those that live in the same home that we do. And so it's a lot of craziness going on. But this is a time that the Lord he's been wanting to work something in us. He's been wanting to do something in us. He's wanting to change something within us during this time. And I want us to really sit with that and reflect with that. What is the Lord? What has happened? Taking account, taking stock in what has the Lord been doing in me during this time. There's been so many things I'm sure that have been thrown at all of us. And God wants to use that. He wants to use this time, and he has been using this time to purify us, to transform us, to face us with ourselves, and most importantly, with him. I know before this time happened, I would say I heard almost at least once a day from people, "I'm so busy. This is going on, I'm running here, I'm running there." And we have no real time for so many things in life. We're making time for a lot of things, but we're always so busy and so distracted. And I really think that Satan was winning in a lot of us Christians, by us boldly proclaiming that I'm doing this and I'm involved in this. And it's almost become this like pride of how many things that we were doing, how many things that we were involved in. And we are putting and placing our identity in things other than God. Maybe we were doing faithful things, but we were finding our identity based on what we were doing for God. And with all of this time of stripping and removal, I think the Lord has been reminding us of your identity is not found in what you do or what you can accomplish or what group you're a part of. But your identity is found in receptivity. That our identity is found in receiving from God. That this has been a time of slowing down, of simplicity, of re-entry into the simple life. And I think God's reclaiming victory in our hearts, reclaiming our time that's really his time, but reminding us of that. Just eliminating those excessive distractions that are in each of our lives and in each of our minds and hearts, to remind us that he is the one that we're all searching for. That God is the one in which we're trying to find all this fulfillment in life. That God is joyful when we're involved and active in our faith, of course, but not to the point where it becomes excessive and it's crowding out personal intimacy with God. And so I just want to encourage you to really take into account, what has happened during this time. What has been going on in my life? What has been removed? What has been stripped? What have I found to be of extreme value? in my life. Maybe it's family, that we were taking family for granted, or rest, whatever that may be, nature, whatever that is, prayer with God. What has happened? What has happened during this time? And what has God been inviting me to during this time? What has God been doing in my heart, in my mind, in my life? So something that I hope all of us have started to, as we reflect on that question, we probably immediately get drawn into what are those things, but what are those habits really that have been formed, that have been forming us during this time? So I know some things that we've maybe been forced into, but have been really good for us and helped us to recognize was this habit of the Sabbath. I know we've been kind of, like I said, this busy culture that we've been living in, of priding ourselves around busyness and all of that. But this time has really eliminated a lot of that and given us time to enjoy the Sabbath. And maybe we've had multiple Sabbaths in a week. Maybe it's making up for the Sabbaths that we haven't been having. But that is good. That is a commandment from the Lord, is that we keep holy the Sabbath, that we make the Sabbath a day of prayer, a day of worship, a day of mass, a day of family, of friends, of silence, of resting. That's what it's supposed to be. And that is a habit I hope many of us have started to cultivate. And that when things start to go back to quote unquote normal, or when we start having a slow entry back into normal, that these things don't go away, that these good habits that have been forming in us, like practicing the Sabbath, that doesn't just end. That, oh great, now I can fill this time again and do all these things. That no, that is taking stock, that is something of value, is the Sabbath. Or maybe you've recognized during this time that family time is so important, and I've been really not been giving that my all. And this time has allowed me the opportunity to see how important family time is. If that's spending 3 nights a week or whatever that may be, of just us as a family, or of making those phone calls that are so important to connect with family or with friends. That maybe I've been not doing that as much in the past, and I've allowed these other things to consume me, but these people are important to me and important in my life. Hopefully prayer, this time has eliminated probably a lot of noise, of distraction. And hopefully this has been a time of cultivating a lot more in our prayer life, that when, again, times go back, or when we have this re-entry, that it's not just, okay, you don't have time for prayer anymore. That no, this is a habit that should continue. Or maybe it's as simple as, eating out. Maybe you're eating out a couple of times a week or once a week, and recognizing that, you know what, like maybe we were doing that because our schedules were so full. And now it's like, this is important to have a meal at home. Not saying you can never go out again, but having more meals at home, cooking together, spending time around your own dinner table. So I encourage you to sit with those questions, sit with that. This is a time that was meant to change us. And what has been going on? What has the Lord been doing in my heart, so that when things start to go back, when we start entering back into society, that we won't go back to what we were doing before, that we won't go back to this endless vicious cycle, like a dog chasing its tail around all the time, that we won't go back to that. But that we will take stock of what the Lord is doing in us and put those practices, make them into habits. Hopefully they're already being formed into habits. And to continue living that way, with our identity being found in receptivity. The next thing I want to talk about is just right along those same lines. It's how are you going to return? That some of us are maybe already allowed to start getting back into the social environments, but how are you going to return? That we cannot go back unchanged, that we have to go back changed, that we have to, this time has changed all of us, but that we cannot go back unchanged. because I know and I believe that God is doing something new, that He has done something new in you. He's doing something new in me, and He wants to continue doing that new thing in each one of us. Therefore, we cannot go back unchanged. We cannot go back to those lives of busyness, those lives of just filling our schedules. But we should take these habits into practice and to really start living them, especially with going back into these. So I encourage you to take this time, to take that time in prayer, to really sit with these questions so that we just don't go back and start going back into our old habits, but that we go back changed because God wants us and needs us to go back changed. Now, the last thing I want to share with you today is this part of this verse that stood out to me recently in prayer was from John 20:21. It says, "So I send you. So I send you." And I know that God is asking and He's desiring to send us. He's desiring to send you out. That when we are able to go out, He wants to send you for a particular reason, for a particular mission. And for us to be in prayer like, Lord, what is that mission? How are you wanting to send me? I know a lot of us have been forced into this upper room, that we've been forced for months to stay in this upper room, which sometimes has been filled with a lot of anxiety, as it was for the apostles. They were filled with fear and trembling that they might be killed, and all of this after the resurrection, or after Jesus died. And so are we. We're kind of stuck in this upper room. But soon, hopefully, we will be allowed and we'll be sent forth. I know Pentecost is in a couple weeks. Jesus wants He wants you to be transformed and changed and to be able to go out. God is sending us. He wants to send us. He needs to send us. And we need to take stock and take account of what God has been doing in our lives so that we know how He's asking us to re-enter. So we know how and where God is sending us. So God is sending you. God desires to send us. He desires to send us out, different, changed, transformed for the world around us. So we will be sent. The question is where is He sending you?